think like the older I get, the more interested I am in the esoteric, and
You just keep wading in the pool. I
just keep peeling the layers, because that's more fascinating to me. I think there's always that philosophical side of life that I've always been attracted to.
Yeah.
And
yet at the same time this is the most successful you guys have been in your careers, like probably as of right now.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's been a linear or maybe quadratic process. Those are the two math words I know, by the way. But
there's a lot of mystics on the internet. Shout out and much love, you crazy fools, that could use dusting off a textbook or two, warmly, without judgment. And secondarily, there are certainly a lot of scholars in academia who would be well served by eating a mushroom. So I'm trying to bridge those two worlds. I'm Bob Peck, and this is Karmic Relief.
my background is in documentary film and comparative religion. I wrote a book called Original Sin is a Lie: How Spirituality Defies Dogma and Reveals Our True Self.
It's an interview show where I talk to spiritual teachers, activists, scholars, people that live within these traditions and also appreciate the overlap. What happens when you start to get activated internally, that makes you activated in a compassionate way in the world. I'm thrilled to be talking to fantastic, inspiring human beings. I have to do much less work, which is nice because I'm just asking them questions about their story. It's a life hack.
Hi.
I hope you'll enjoy these explorations, these really excavations. In the ones I've filmed so far, they've all been really beautiful and deep and lighthearted. So please enjoy Karmic Relief. I'm Bob Peck. I wrote Original Sin is a Lie, and now I'm asking a bunch of questions to intelligent, compassionate humans.
Knowing the Villegas well is proof I'm doing something right. Juan and Rosemary Villegas are two visionary painters in North Austin, blazing their own trail. They've both been painting for over a decade with a clarified spiritual focus. The last 5 to 7 years, they have co-created a transcendental, surreal home for art and the artists who create it at Artosco Art Gallery. It wasn't always easy. In fact, it was a challenging period in the early years, both as artists and just as human beings working out their own shadow sides. Until their hard work and vision, literally, they engineered this space mentally, paid off into their own artist-run grassroots art collective and gallery in North Austin in the Arboretum area. As painters, they've exhibited their work in galleries across Texas and other states. As students, they've learned from visionary artists Alex and Allyson Grey. And as gallery owners, they've showcased art by diverse artists from different cultural backgrounds, all with the shared mission of expanding consciousness. Enjoy. So you guys like painting or whatever?
A little
We
bit.
do a little bit of painting.
That's cool. And like what kind or... No, I'm just kidding. Welcome back to Karmic Relief. I'm Bob Peck. I'm here with Juan and Rosemary Villegas.
Hello.
Hello.
Thanks for being on the show, guys.
Thanks for having us, Bob.
You both are misfits.
Yeah, you can say that.
Nobody let you in, so you just built your own damn thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty much.
How long have y'all been painting? Your
I
whole life?
yeah. But professionally, or taking myself seriously, about 10 years, and then full-time, has it been 6 years? About 6 years full-time.
That's amazing.
Same here. I think been 15 years for me painting. I graduated, so I went to art school. I went to Sam Houston State, fresh out of Columbia. and got my BFA in studio art in 2010, and worked odd jobs for quite a few years until Rosemary and I met in 2017, and I think that kind of opened up the portal of possibilities and potential. And like a year later, we like took the leap of faith and started doing it full time, and here we are 6 years later.
Yeah, it was like with the support of each other, we could finally like, okay, I'm gonna quit massaging people, done touching people, retired.
Next chapter.
Exactly.
Time to level up together. It's beautiful. Yeah, you guys, I mean, you've been doing it so long. I think it's easy for people to like come into this space, which you guys run. You guys are the operators and directors of Artust Co. Art Gallery here in Austin, Texas. You're both painters. You got all these great gallery artists in here that are showing their work. It's probably, I mean, it's quick for someone to walk in here and go, "Oh, these guys got it," but it's like the 45-year overnight success or whatever, right?
Yeah, it's
I mean,
pretty
it's
much
15, 10, like
it was
there's
rough.
just a lot of slog. Oh yeah, for a long time.
It's been a long journey. I mean, Rosemary and I have been exhibiting work as artists for the past decade, and it's hard to get into galleries, and it's hard when your work is not pop culture or safe, when you're speaking of mysticism or transcendental subjects, or you're trying to bring more mind expansive ideas into a gallery setting. A lot of the times it's not well received. And so we were Misfits for a long time because we couldn't really get into exhibits with, some of the big galleries here in town. So that definitely didn't slow us down. That made us really push hard and be like, okay, we just need to build our own, because Austin needs to see this work, and keep Austin weird. Like, where did that go?
You're not in Wichita, Kansas.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like you're definitely in a city that hits a vibe. So it feels like it was a matter of time, but that shouldn't trivialize like the years of you guys being like, "Can we show?" And people are like, "That's a little bit too out of this world, you guys." When you walk around this gallery, I mean, it's so inspiring to me, because as a mystic philosopher, it's like, this is what you guys are doing, is you're representing, like you said, the transcendental, like the beyond the physical plane, which is a key component of psychedelics, is a key component of mystic spirituality. When did you guys you guys both paint like that? I mean, I want to talk about your differences in styles and things like that, but initially, like, when did you start to realize, I'll start with Rosemary, when did you start to realize that you wanted to, get beyond painting the bowl of oranges and, paint a mushroom lady's third eye?
So I guess for a while, yeah, I was just kind of painting random things. I mean, if you saw my work from like 12 years ago, you'd be like, what was this? But I took a leap of faith and took the Visionary Art Intensive with Alex and Allyson Grey in 2014 at Omega. And it was a 5-day intensive. And so they teach you, a little bit of drawing and life drawing, but mostly how to tap into your own visions. So we did meditations, different forms of meditations. And for me, that's, I feel like, when my subject matter purpose started to come through. I was seeing animals, and then I came back and I painted my ram, my blood moon ram, which is the first, I showcased a print of it. First thing I showcased at Cherry Coladog, where Juan and I met. And it was like a piece of art that we connected with. And then that was kind of, I wanted to learn about the meaning of the animals and what can they teach me about myself. I got super into Ted Andrews, Animal Speak.
Animal Speak, shout out.
Animal Speak, Ted Andrews, amazing. And so I was learning all these things about myself. Animals started showing up to me just in everyday life. I was seeing feathers. I took a trip to the Grand Canyon said, you know what would make this trip for me is if I saw California condor. There's only like 90 of them in the wild at the time.
Double digit species.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe there's more. I'm not certain.
I think you're right. I think there's like less than 1,000, like easy.
It's there's not a lot. So the first stop we made at the Grand Canyon, there was a California condor sunning itself. And we were with a guide, and he's like, I've never seen one. He's like, we go out here all the time. I've never seen one. So that's when I was like, okay, the animals are also communicating with me. And then that really just opened, that was kind of my gateway.
That's beautiful. I mean, what you're kind of drawing up for me is the idea around the mystical, illusory nature of this reality or this unreality, where everything is communicative, everything is symbolic. And so animals who are other sentient beings, who are other kind of drops of the divine ocean, are going to be transferring messages and, things for us to know and learn from. So it's very cool. I'm not surprised that you had synchronistic things. I mean, I kind of want to talk a little bit about like pantheism, and I think that's like a huge theme in both of you guys' work around spirit world and this world and the relationship between those two. I'm more non-dualist, and so I think the misinterpretation is that it's like world detachment. It's not necessarily that, but it is like it's emptiness. And so it's an interesting relationship. When did you start, when did you make the shift from like portraiture to?
So for me, I think like the fantasy aspect has always been with me. From a young age, I started, my dad gave me a newsprint pad and some pencils when I was 5 or 6, and I just started sketching and drawing, and it was hooked immediately. But I think for me, like Japanese manga, like Saint Seiya, Dragon Ball Z, like all those shows when I was a kid, like were like deeply
Toonami.
Deeply impactful. And it was this otherworldly aspect of these shows that was really magnetic to me. And so from an early age, I was always drawing from imagination. Like I was just really drawn to that. And then high school, I discovered surrealism, and I, was taking some art history classes, and, Salvador Dali came into my world, and I was like, holy shit, like, this is it. Like, this is the web of imagination that I've been, tapping into. And so that was just, I was fully hooked.
Amazing.
But
yeah, just like little by little.
Things just kind of started making more sense. And the more I researched art, because that from a young age, I knew I wanted to be an artist. It's like, this is what I want to do. There's nothing else I want to do. Moved, I grew up in Colombia, so there's a lot of supernatural, like folklore and mysticism in Colombia from my family, mixed with Catholicism, which is another crazy world on itself. I renounced Catholicism in my teenage years, but never went fully atheist. I just became more of an agnostic for a long time. But moving to Texas... You
had your punk rock period.
I had my grunge period. I played music a lot. But I think there was a lot of darkness and negativity in my world back then, through my 20s. And so my work was surreal, but it was dark. I think I was fighting some demons back then. And it wasn't until I hit 30 and I met Rosemary, and I got out of like a lot of toxic relationships and friendships in my life, kind of switched my mentality and my perception around, and things really shifted for the better. And then I started seeing more positive things in my life, and more like I went from deserts to forests, oases. Yeah, it's like from death to life. So it was this huge transformation in how I saw the world.
That's so beautiful. You just making that shift internally,
yeah. And I think the 20s for me with music and art was like I was transmuting a lot of negativity that was building up in my life, and I was able to work through that. And that's the side of art that is so therapeutic. It's like you can work through your shit. by
Totally.
making art.
You're an alchemist.
I was alchemizing, yeah. And meeting Rosemary and like moving to Austin and finding my voice here like was a huge aspect of my transformation and like my subject matter in my art now, which is way more uplifting.
It's really profound. I think just, well, I mean, first off, your shirt, like that's someone who's come out of the other end of the darkness. That's not someone who's in the darkness anymore.
Yeah.
No, you guys' style is amazing, and it's there's just like there's so much color, there's so much like vivid. I think that is mystical. That is like shamanistic, animistic. All of these wonderful qualities of indigenous cultures and kind of ancient wisdom that you guys tap into. It's really special.
I just thought about, I guess, when I was having my awakening around animals, I realized that there was just years had gone by where I just was totally checked out. I was not observing the wildlife or, I mean, even really plant life around me. And then, it occurred to me, obviously I'm not the only one who was going through that or maybe tunes that out. So I kind of came on a mission to paint the plants and animals in a very mystical, colorful, beautiful way. I was like, these are, like, this is how I see it. And I wanted to share that with other people and inspire them to value nature and animals and plants and, these things that we share the earth with.
And I think that's one of the things that I was deeply inspired and influenced, but when we came together was that I started seeing life through a different lens, and I wanted to highlight that. I became more spiritual. So I went from being like completely neglecting that, and probably because of my Catholic upbringing, but came full circle and became more clear for me what it meant to be connected to something higher than myself. And the animals, the plant, nature became such a, and it was weird. It's like, man, this was around me all the time. The whole time this was around me, and I was blind, I was asleep.
Well, we're just deadened by the dopamine depletion of the internet and the late stage cap and the ego's masterpiece of cultural conditioning.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that psychedelics helped, because it kind of opened me up to see the world with fresh eyes and see the world in a new light and see the world in a way that was inspiring and magnetic and beautiful. And
Did you do psychedelics back in Colombia?
No. So the first time I did psychedelics, like for real, was here in my young 20s. Like I ate some mushrooms, like I'm 17, but like didn't really get that. Like I wasn't really in it.
Yeah.
And I tried it a few times in my 20s.
We've
but
all been to a party in Austin, Texas.
Like through my 20s, tried them a few times, but they didn't really have like that mystical experience that brought me to something bigger than myself until like much later on. And I feel like
because the inner work wasn't
wasn't done,
level.
it wasn't being done exactly. So it was superficial in a way. But it wasn't until I think like the first profound psychedelic experience we had together, and I think it's because of the company too. It helped because I wasn't taking it seriously. I didn't think of psychedelics as a
tool for transformation.
It was just taken for curiosity or fun, but didn't really go deep enough to fully open myself up. And that was super powerful.
There's a lot of directions I want to go with this, so just bear with me. I mean, we also read all the same shit. We're the three of us all are like mystic book nerds. I know you've mentioned Manly B. Hall.
Yes.
We're big Dispenza heads.
Yes.
And just general like transcendental stuff, like, so that helps. I think I really liked what you guys were talking about in terms of translating this like enlivened view You know, one of the kind of key things that comes out of a lot of this material is how primitive our senses are. We really aren't perceiving much of this quote unquote reality at all. You know, I think it's 0.0035% is our visual on the electromagnetic spectrum or on the ultraviolet spectrum. And so, yeah, we're not seeing shit. And we think we are. And we're, stubborn about the rigid nature of our own perception. But what you guys are doing with your work is kind of, you're poking at that inability, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think like the past 7 years, especially, we've really wanted to dive deeper. I think like the older I get, the more interested I am in the esoteric, and
You just keep wading in the pool a little further.
I just keep peeling the layers because that's more fascinating to me. I think there's always that philosophical side of life that I've always been attracted to.
Yeah.
And
yet at the same time this is the most successful you guys have been in your careers, like probably as of right now.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's been a linear or maybe quadratic process. Those are the two math words I know, by the way. But it hasn't been like this.
No.
But it is probably like,
but
it has that curve.
Yes.
It's like that sustained period over time. Like now you got, it just happens a little bit quicker, right?
Yeah, there was a little
Totally.
because of COVID.
Yeah.
Things
And
were
physical.
happening in 2019. We were like, yeah. And then no. I mean,
Monk mode.
we painted a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Probably made some of my best paintings. Painted the Phoenix 2020 because I had the time.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I mean, I painted the mushrooms. Well, I think that was the end of 2019, actually. But
No, that was 2020. This was all the work we did for the Ancient Ones back in 2020. We did a 2-person show. That was after we watched Fantastic Fungi. We live painted for maps when they were here in Austin in late 2019.
Yeah, you guys are connected to the psychedelic community.
Yeah.
How did that happen? How did that start? By just painting a bunch of mushrooms.
Organically, yeah. Well,
yeah.
So like since 2017, we've been like actively painting or like inviting the mushrooms into our world. And in 2019, we went to Cosm. I got invited to live paint.
Chapel of Sacred
Mirrors. And for
Cosm is what cool
for the spring equinox. And Rosemary tagged along. We collaborated on a piece up there that introduces us to a lot of artists and a lot of the network of visionary art in the United States, which is amazing because they didn't really consider my art to be visionary. I was always just tied to the surreal name for whatever reason. But the visionary art, I see it now as the big umbrella of transcendental art, which includes all these branches, right? And I think 2019 was like the beginning of us kind of expanding on us being the psychedelic, the visionary artists.
Well, for years, people who had psychedelic or mystical experiences would come up to us, look at our paintings, and be like, I saw something like this. I felt this. I've been there before.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just kind of we've never even done ayahuasca, but our art speaks to a lot of people who have done ayahuasca. So it just became a magnet.
Yeah.
And then it just organically happened. Because, yeah, and we're definitely...
It's really beautiful.
Yeah, we're supporters of psychedelics. Not all of my art is from a psychedelic trip or anything.
Somebody even asked you guys recently, do you paint on mushrooms?
Not at all.
Which kind of, I think, made you guys chuckle a bit because it sounds challenging.
Oh, yeah.
To paint on mushrooms.
Well, because I guess some people do it and that's fine, but I don't.
Maybe a microdose.
I think great art is a combination of technical skill and insight. And like when you're on that level, like there is no technical skill. Like that goes out the window. Right. And I'm not interested in making work that is purely intuitive.
I can't drink when I paint either, alcohol, or it just looks like shit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna relax if I'm having a beverage.
I don't write on anything.
No.
So I get it.
That's when you partake in the mystical experience, and then you integrate, and then you make art through the integration, and that's our process.
Oh,
The receiving, the input, and then the output, and that's a shift.
yeah. Although I will say maybe a little cannabis when we're painting. That's a good one.
Cannabis
You
and
touch that stuff?
I touched that stuff.
Oh, boy.
cannabis and coffee are a good match.
That's true.
Those are some of our plant allies. They're more regular than anything else.
Yeah, but like tripping and painting, no.
No, and we're usually like we'll have like maybe 1 or 2 journeys a year, but we're not eating mushrooms every weekend. Like we treat it.
Gotta get a new painting idea. No,
we
I'm
don't
just
we
kidding.
don't use psychedelics to get ideas. We use them to partake in mind expansion and have a journey together and be the receivers, but
Yeah, that's a healthy way to do it. It's kind of like the other image is like a cliched, tortured genius, like country and western songwriter who's like a drunk, but like he's written the best. Like Townes Van Zandt kind of was like that. He was like just this liquor hound. He died young, but he wrote like a few amazing songs. But I think there's like a lot of people who are like, just like they're just more drunk than drunk.
Yeah.
Tortured genius, and it's like, don't be disillusioned by that, image of it.
There's a quote by Salvador Dali that I really enjoy. This is like, if you make a masterpiece, you die the next day. So like,
oh wow, that's great.
Don't focus on like creating this big thing, because then it might be the end of your life. And I appreciate life. Like,
yeah,
maybe I didn't back when I was younger, but now life is awesome, and I want to live as much of it as I can. And if a master, like, don't worry about perfection, because you'll never achieve it. So like, just create, because creating is awesome.
I also
totally.
feel like psychedelics, you get lost in there. It's a lot of beautiful things happening, seeing the world in a very different way, but you could get lost, and it was like, we still got to show up, still got to pay bills, still got to,
I mean, I can do it tomorrow, right?
I don't need electricity.
Yeah, and you shouldn't rely on it for inspiration. Another quote by Picasso said, "Inspiration exists, but it has to find you working." So like, you gotta put in the work, and inspiration will come. Like, don't seek out these outside sources to find your voice. Like that's in here. You gotta go within and find yourself there.
Were you trying to find it elsewhere?
Back in my 20s, I was, yes. And that was a huge wake-up call. To be like, it's not outside, it's within. And I think my 30s have been about this, going in and finding my voice within, because that was a huge shift for me, was just starting to seek outside validation.
Yeah, it's interesting too to me, like in terms of like where you guys are in your careers as artists and your trajectory. Like, you're getting more esoteric in the subject matter, but you're gaining a new level of success. And also, like, I think what I'm interested in too as a writer now is like accessibility. Like my first book, I put one book out, and it's just like this tome of like all this stuff, and I'm just like, here you go, like here's a giant briefcase of like all my stuff from my entire life. And like, it's helped some people. And also now I'm like, okay, the next piece, like, probably going to be a little tighter. It's like you're iterating on the art form to still be true to yourself, but you're also like, because of the two-way nature of it, like you also are thinking about who's receiving it. Do you guys make that consideration? I think the far end is like, what's our demographic and shit. Like, I'm not necessarily talking about marketing, but just identifying the audience.
I would say I'm definitely inspired by feedback when people are touched by the art. It definitely gives me that little like, oh, okay, this is good. Like, my gift to the world is being received.
Yeah.
But then I'll just get like a totally rando idea, and I'll be like, overcome and be like, I gotta paint it. I don't know if anyone's gonna like this, but I gotta do it. And those are usually the ones that people like the most.
Beautiful.
So I feel like if I'm trying to make something just to sell, that, I don't know, maybe that energy is in it and people are like, bleh, they don't want it.
Yeah, no, I think authenticity is key in what makes great art. And I think people connect to art better when it's authentic, they can see that the artist is being authentic and not trying to hop on some trendy whatever, you know. And for me, like I paint what I want. I have these visions and this imagery comes to me and it needs to come out, and then I make it happen. And if people like it, cool. And if people don't like it, well, I like it. And that's why commissions exist. You know, like people can see this is how I paint, and if you want something in particular, you can commission me to paint something
Sure.
for you. But these are the images that are coming through.
Ah, that's beautiful. That's a good dynamic to have, is like, this is my soul infused creation.
Yeah.
And I'm for hire because I'm a professional. This
Right.
is what I do for a living, you know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
We can paint whatever you want, but if you're gonna leave it up to us, this is what's coming out.
Terry McKenna, we're all in love with, has a great line. You know, I'm thinking about you guys painting mushrooms for this long, you know, because it's like, well, also they're beautiful. Okay, I'm getting off track, but you know, it's like you guys have been doing this for so long. Like somebody could have came. You guys had this amazing show last night, the Realms of Fungi show last night, which is packed. It was a freaking packed house in here. Look at this footage in the B-roll right now. Anyone on the video, because it's wall to wall. Anyway,
All night.
They had this huge night at this gallery. It was, couldn't walk around. And, you know, I think somebody who doesn't know you guys, you know, just heard about this, who walked in, might accuse you of like following the trend of the trendiness of psychedelics right now. And that's just, you know, ignorance. And this isn't actually a real person. This is just a hypothetical situation that I've made up. But, you know, if they did that, it would be amusing, because y'all are like, no, we've been doing shit our entire lives. And I just really love that. Terry McKenna, he said something like, he goes, I've been saying the same thing for 25 years, you know. Now I'm doing all these lectures and everybody wants to hear what I have to say, but I've been saying the same shit, you know. It's like you just do what you're called to do over a period of time.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's amazing that it's trendy now, because this is one of the messages to convey is, you know, mushrooms do bring us together. We have this connection with fungi that goes back thousands of years. And it's important to, as artists, it's important to convey messages of union and transcending division and bringing us back together. I think that's one of the core messages that we like to convey. Art brings us together. Art can save us. Art can transform us. And the mushrooms are showing us the way. And they continue to show us the way now with the way that, you know, scientifically, how they're cleaning out spills and, you know, aiding in environmental issues, you know, so it's huge.
You're talking about literally saving the world.
Saving the
world.
world.
Not even just on a spiritual thing, but like BP oil spill eating up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that fascinating? Like oyster
really
mushrooms can soak up toxins, and yeah.
It's good that the taboo's going away.
Yeah. And the mystical experience of mushrooms, you know, which I feel like that's kind of the basis of our religions, was the mystical experience. And most likely that came from people eating mushrooms.
Yeah, the indigenous,
connection. Yes.
Well, it's Terry McKenna's stoned ape theory.
The stoned ape theory
is now starting to become more accepted in scientific and archaeological study. It was ludicrous when he first said that. They were like, how many mushrooms is this guy eating to suggest that? But the stoned ape theory, in case you're not familiar, I think we've talked about it, but the idea is the brain expanded so much, so quickly in our, like, you know, distant past, our ancestral past, that we have to point to something, because it's not this natural, you know, linear progression of the size of the brain. There's a huge jump forward.
Right.
Yeah.
And Terry's argument was, when you're herding cattle, you're walking behind cows who are pooping, which mushrooms enjoy. emerging from. And so they figured out how to not be hunter-gatherers. We're herding cows. We're going to start with some villages. We're going to eat these mushrooms. We're going to realize that there's one beating heart of all creation.
Yeah.
And it just exploded these monkeys' brains.
Yeah, no, it's absurd that mushrooms have been a taboo for so long, and at least I guess in the 20th century, our lifetime. So I'm really happy to see the shift in perception and the acceptance that they're not getting, because they're helping everyone. Absolutely, and like physically, mentally, spiritually, they are changing the world.
I did want to touch on too, just like visually, it's like, what a fun still life. If you're going to do a still life of anything,
Yes.
like, what a bizarre looking thing that's like really beautiful. And there's so many different kinds. Like, there was a great costume contest last night, which was hilarious. And like, was it the Amanita? And I was like, oh, I know that one. It's like the big red,
We had a blue mushroom. We had a psychedelic mushroom. It was like, they're amazing. And then it's funny, with Instagram too. You start liking mushroom pics, and then you get more and more mushroom pics, and you're like, holy, there's a really wild one.
Are you in mushroom photography, Graham?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mushrooms and clouds.
There's one over here in the show that's like, it looks like maybe a rotting piece of meat or something on a tree, and like, that's a mushroom. It's like got like red juice coming out of it. You're like, what is going on?
Yeah, super alien.
This is
mysterious.
Endless. Yeah, endless inspiration.
I definitely get that, and my mushrooms are starting to hit now.
Oh my God.
Just kidding.
Didn't know it was that kind of interview.
What is this again?
Where are we?
I love the Dali connection. I call Juan Young Dali, because you are a surrealist. You got the Latin connection. I mean, that must have been special too for you also to say, because I feel like America, especially 20th century American art, is like so white male dominated, and it's like just like every other industry probably.
Yeah.
It's like, there's literally geniuses of every background and every gender and all this stuff. And so when you find your person, you're like,
I love it. And in school I did a whole semester on independent study, and I went deep on surrealism, so I was able to find so many artists in history, and not just the popular surrealists, but like this type of art has been going on for hundreds of years. Like we go back to people like Hieronymus Bosch,
right,
and people like Giuseppe Arcimboldo that were doing like these amazing, like otherworldly paintings that this, it just ties into the web of history, So it's like this is a lineage of mystical, transcendental artists that have been alive and carrying down the torch, and now it's our turn to keep the torch going.
That's beautiful.
So yeah, it's beautiful. And some of my favorite artists happen to be like Latin American or Latin European. So it's really cool. There's not a lot of that in the United States, so it's cool to see more of that coming out.
Yeah, y'all are repping. I think we've talked about one of my favorite documentaries is about the Impressionists.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really slow, like boring, like it's amazing. Like it's such a good documentary. It's just so like low key. It's like 2000s, like early 2000s.
Yeah.
It's like very poor. Like it's like not TikTok. It's just like a long still with the still images of the
I like
Impressionists,
that.
and it's like kind of bad music. It's so good, and I didn't know how radical they were, to the point of like from art history, we all think like the modern generation is the one that broke it, like Andy Warhol and stuff. And it's like, no, like Monet was like, essentially everything was hyper realist before, or a lot of it, right? A lot of it was like hyper realist religious imagery. Everything was just like the Passion of Jesus or the church, painting. And they were like, we're going to do a blurry lady working in the fields like that, day laborers. and it's going to be kind of brushstrokey and weird. And even the term impressionists, that was an insult
Right.
that was given to them because impression is like a rough draft. So they were like, oh, it's like an impression, you know. And they were like, yeah, that's our fucking name, you know. Like they were radical. And I didn't know much of that story, but I've always loved like Sunrise and, you know, the classic Monet and Renoir and those guys and Pissarro, and like it's like there's a whole scene of those rebels. So
Yeah. No, and that was a beautiful period in art.
I think it takes, the artists to coming together to make the ripple effect too, because it couldn't just be
Yes.
one artist doing it. It's like, it's all, everyone being like, oh, sharing a vision and then creating a movement.
totally, they famously couldn't show too. So
And
a lot
that's
of
what
connection.
that's what tilts the scales, when a group of people come. Nobody accomplishes anything alone, right? So like it's about coming together with a shared vision, and talking about painting. Like nowadays we are in the new world. Digital art and AI and photography, for that matter. Being a hyper-realist painter doesn't really do much anymore. So like, how can you take painting to another level that is unique and transformative? And I think that's why visionary art is so appealing and so magnetic to us. It's because it's something that has, this essence that can't exactly be measured, like.
Well, it's like you get, with all of these pieces in here, it's like you get a little invitation into the artist's brain of what they're seeing, like how they experience something or what they're seeing. And these are things that I would probably otherwise never see, because you don't see this outside in nature. You're not seeing it, on
You can't take a picture of it outside.
their
No,
mind.
it's
Yeah.
a picture from their mind. And like, so it's just incredible, like what visions people are having.
Totally.
And then how we share visions too. It's not all just one of us. That was something in like the intensive with the Greys, was we did a meditation, and then like I saw Ram, and then there was another woman in the room. I did not know her. It's like 50 people there also saw Ram. So we had
in the meditation.
Yes, we
Yeah.
had similar things coming through. And that's when that was just a moment for me too of, you're like, oh, I don't want to copy anyone or blah, blah, blah. And then you're like, but I saw it and I'm seeing it in my own unique
That's
way.
like the collective unconscious, right?
Yes.
Like there's a tangible, singular imagery.
There's nothing new under the sun, right? So this whole thing, some people try so hard to be unique and original, it becomes a novelty. Like, no, we're all tied together. We are we're a mystical mycelium. We're all connected spiritually to one another. And so like the ideas, it's going to either flow through you or flow through someone else, but like they're going to go around, and sometimes through multiple people at the same time. So like just whatever comes to you, channel it, express it.
I get the sense you like mushrooms. Which so do I. You guys talked about groups and like the Impressionists, and like you guys run a gallery. You have how many artists in here?
Including ourselves, 13 resident artists.
That's amazing.
We have 11 studios and all different. We have filmmakers, photographers, encaustic art, mosaic beadwork, silk painters,
Weavers.
like
What?
fiber art.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, multimedia artists, and then ourselves. We do fine art, we do
Painters.
murals. So there's a little bit of. We have an eclectic bunch here.
It's amazing, and it's like, does everybody kind of have the misfit-y vibe? Like, is anybody a little more tradition here? That's like,
We have a
bringing some
couple
of
of
that.
artists here that are more traditional and.
but that's good because that kind of evens you guys out a little bit.
But I think it's a good thing to have an eclectic bunch, because we have diverse perspectives and kind of makes us a little more wholesome, more well-rounded.
If
And
everybody thought the same, painted the same, did the same thing, we wouldn't have the diversity.
right.
So we like to believe that there's something here for everybody. So anybody who comes into this space is going to connect with one piece of art or another. So if it was all the same, then, we would only connect with this many people if everybody's different. We can connect with more people.
Totally.
And all work can be seen in a more like visionary, expansive way, just depending on how you're looking at it, too.
Yeah. But I think we all share the sense of art being something greater than ourselves. There's a spiritual aspect about art making and what it does to people that we all, under this roof, we all share that vision. And so,
And we've all dedicated our lives to our art.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing.
There's not anybody in here that's like, this could be a really good cash flow avenue for me.
No.
I could just show at Art Usco. I could learn painting tomorrow, and then...
Those people don't work.
no, and most of us who have studios here, we're doing it full time, so like we take it seriously and we don't take it for granted.
Yeah, that's amazing. 13 resident artists.
And
how many exhibits, too, do you guys have?
So we have, kind of depends, but
Realms of Fungi is playing now.
Realms of Fungi.
Probably not when this episode comes out. Sorry, everybody. See you next year
See
for
you next
Realms
year.
of Fungi 2025.
That's right. That's an annual, probably our most popular exhibit of the year.
Yeah.
But we do 4 to 5 exhibits a year. We have a couple to a few open calls a year, so we try to extend the support to artists outside of Art Usco because we want to create the community, create opportunities for artists.
And outside Central Texas as well?
Central Texas too. Yeah, like we have in this exhibit, for example, we have artists from San Antonio, we have artists from Colorado, we have artists from Florida.
Oh, amazing.
New York. So
fantastic.
We are expanding the web, which we find amazing because all artists need support in the new community, and bringing artists from outside of Texas kind of connects us to a wider web, which we are interested in because we want to connect Austin. Austin needs help as far as the art scene goes. Like we have the potential, but we're not New York, we're not LA, we're somewhere in between, but we need a lot of help coming together. Art here is kind of fragmented. There's little circles everywhere. So I think by bringing other people to notice what Austin has to offer can greatly help the city like elevate as far as the creative community goes.
You guys also, I mean, maybe this is another podcast episode, but you guys, like, the prices in here are very reasonable.
Yes.
Like, they're also very, like, it seems like the artist is happy, the buyer's happy. I've seen, like, a couple, like, conspiracy things that, like, high-end art can be, like, a financial
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
Have you guys
Yeah.
seen this?
Yes.
Where people are like, oh, yeah, it's $190,000 or whatever, or like, oh, yeah, this is 400, this is $1 million. It's like, they can just kind of put money in this stuff.
It's like low-key money laundering, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
and then a lot of that art just ends in storage somewhere.
Totally.
So it's just a commodity, and
It's kind of lose-lose, really. It's
Yeah.
like an unjust thing.
And that's just like big business. I don't think the art world represents what art is really about.
Right.
The art world and like the high end, the blue chip, like it's a well-oiled machine, you know.
You guys, your LLC is not in the Cayman
So
Islands?
we are
Oh, we don't talk about that.
Artisco is a 501c3 nonprofit. So like Artisco is a nonprofit organization. So it's run by artists for artists.
We're mostly
It's a
volunteers.
pretty amazing model.
Mostly volunteer based because, even though the chandeliers look fancy, like this is artist run.
We're literally cleaning toilets.
We clean the dishes,
are.
we put on the shows, we do it all.
Absolutely.
But I think
I mean, I bartend half of these events.
But also the prices too. It's something for everybody. Everybody can be an art collector. You got $100, you can start your collection with a little something.
Yeah.
You can collect a print.
You guys
It's-
have prints too? Yeah.
Yep, signed by the artist. I have prints in my house. I love them.
Yeah, we want to bridge that gap between our collectors and artists because, we want to convey the message that art is important to highlight and don't just focus on the dead artists from 100 years ago who are amazing, but they don't need any help. They don't need any support anymore. They're gone. Their legacy remains, but the artists who are alive and well or alive and struggling, right now could use the support, because if we don't continue the support for art, like, it's gonna die out. If we just continue to support Picasso and not support artists who are
His
living now.
grandchildren are doing just fine.
Well, and he was
Exactly.
like kind of a turd.
Well, yes.
We don't need to talk about that, but
But my point is, we need to support
I've heard
artists
that.
who are alive, our local. Like, if you have artists in your city, support the artists in your city. You know, buy their work, go to the art shows, support the creative spirit, because it's what keeps the culture, it keeps inspiration going, it keeps us all connected to something bigger.
I actually,
here.
I'm sorry. Let's all talk at the same time. I couldn't believe last night. Well, I could because was seeing it physically, but that many people came wall to wall packed from 6 to 10 just to see art. Like, we had some music at the beginning by Victoria, which was awesome, but you know, people were here for the art. And I was like, this is the most beautiful thing. Like, this is the kind of support that artists deserve. Most of the time, artists are like the add-on. Like, oh, kind of need something over here. We'll just get an artist to do it, and we're not going to pay them anything. And they're going to have to lug all their crap, and, you know, and they might get some compliments or some conversations, but they're not getting the highlight or...
Yeah.
We highlight and pay
Y'all
musicians.
deserve the spotlight.
Yeah, artists deserve the spotlight.
Yeah, and a lot of the times, a lot of event organizers or other planners here in the city, like, don't give artists the credit they deserve. And so we're changing that. And it's not just us. There's quite a few spaces in Austin popping up doing that, which is a great thing. But
What are
artists...
some other spots in Austin?
So,
you guys like?
we have Almost Real Things, which is a great resource for artists emerging. They work with the city of Austin a lot, so they have great resources. They throw events as well. We have Something Cool Studios, artist-run space as well on East Cesar Chavez. We have the big art complex, Good Dad Studios. They have like over 100 studios in there. They're also supporting artists. Bohm Arts is another one that's a little more old school.
And it's very friendly with you guys. It's not a cutthroat swashbuckle competition.
Not
No.
here, that we don't...
In other cities, maybe.
We don't like that scarcity mentality and that artists are competing against each other. There's room for all of us. There's plenty of people in the city to appreciate each and every one of us. So
Right.
there's no need to feel
You
like...
guys go to the other events all the time and
when we can.
appreciate the
yes.
art. Yeah. Well, you're busy.
We
running
try
a
to support
gallery,
as
but-
much as we can. Yeah, but we got a lot of stuff going
Stuck
on
at
here.
the house.
Yeah.
This house.
Yeah. Yeah, when I see another writer, I'm like, boo.
Your book sucks.
Oh, my book's better. That's really cool. You guys have texted me about like I want to go to a couple of the other spots with you guys and just, keep it going. But it's really profound what you guys have done here, and looking forward to the next exhibit. Really enjoyed this one. I think my question, just kind of to start to wrap up with you guys, is like, how did you get to that place where you are now? And like, what's your focus in the future? Like, if you've seen the impact of your own internal work, like, what's your motivation to kind of keep going to the next level? How are you carrying that forward as a creative?
Okay. I believe intention setting was huge.
Mm-hmm.
We were dreaming this up. We dreamt up having a gallery space years ago together. We've dreamt up the life that we want to live. We've written it down. We've visualized it. We've made mantras. We've incorporated it into our life every day. So you're always focused on the bigger picture. And also, I think it's like loving ourselves. Just how much do you love yourself? Like, how much do I love myself? Do I love myself that I think that I deserve all this? And like, that sounds maybe simple, but it's a real practice to be like, no, I love myself and I'm prioritizing this, my dream. I'm going to take every step I can that's going to lead me here. Somehow it did work.
Yes.
And it got us here, which is And then I remind myself every day, I tell myself every day, I'm so grateful.
Beautiful.
Grateful for this gallery, grateful for my house, grateful for my family. I'm continuing to live in gratitude and thanks for everything that I have, and, open to the possibilities of what's next. But
Yeah, we want
Amazing.
people to believe in magic. Magic is real, and we've experienced it this past 7 years of building what we're building. And the future is, creating a sustainable way for artists to make a living, in a space where art and culture can thrive and be celebrated, because that is an essential part of our society. And as humans, like, we need that. We need inspiration. We need to connect to the divine. We need to have spaces where that is available and accessible to everyone. Otherwise, life will be dull and meaningless. So I think the future is, growing and making Austin a more established city for the arts.
I just thought of something too that happened last night. I was talking to somebody, and she was like, "You've created a place where people can make friends." And I was like, wow. Because when we met, it was at Cherry Cola Dog. It was at an art gallery. Anybody could participate. I met almost everybody that I knew and know now in some ripple effect from there, because art connects people. It's like you can start talking about a painting. You can start talking about what they're wearing. You can start, you don't know who you're going to meet next, who your next friend is going to be.
Yeah. And
That's so true.
how many sparks you're lining up inside people, because, when you're exposed to art and you're inspired and you are taken by the work and you expand your perception, things start happening inside of you. Seeds are planted, and people come out hopefully with a renewed sense of something they can do better in their lives, or seeing the beauty that they couldn't see before, or just being inspired by something that connects them to something that's going on in their lives that makes them want to take that on in a positive way, or a change in their lives that needed to happen. Art can do all those things. Art is a catalyst, and people need to be exposed to it.
That's beautiful. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Bon.
I was gonna make a joke, and I was like, no, it's way better to just let you guys take us out on that. What I was gonna say was, have you ever been to an Apple store?
No.
Well, that's a stupid juxtaposition, because it's the opposite. Like, an art gallery was like what you guys were saying. It's this community centric thing. Whereas, like, late stage capitalism, most things are like transactional.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're in line, you're frustrated about your phone, whatever. And it's like, you're not everyone like, how radical would it be to be like, yeah, everyone I ever that's in my friend group, we all met at a T-Mobile store. It's like, that's not, it's the opposite. Like, you never see anyone from any of these retail places or other places where humans gather, even the mall, unless you're like a kid or something. But it's like, there's something special about a place like this, because you are coming with a level of like openness and curiosity and like inspiration seeking. It kind of primes the pump of all of these beautiful kind of different openings in your future that you're not aware of in this mystical way. So thank you guys for creating and co-creating.
No, thank you. I like to see the difference it makes to the people who don't go to art shows and don't experience art in person. That are just going to the Apple store and back home, or working in a cubicle and then going home and not experiencing the beauty and the inspiration that art can bring. Like, I like to see like the quality of life for those people versus the people that are around art, go to music shows, go to galleries, and like follow artists and take in inspiration, regularly.
Right. That's interesting.
It's free to walk into Target. It's also free to walk into here,
Hell
We're
yeah.
not keeping anyone out.
Right.
Like, doors open, you come on in.
Absolutely. Come on in and break the veil with the Villegas.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Thank
Bob.
you.